Hello, 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 and welcome. Hi, welcome to Aldine Senior High School. I am obviously looking cute, celebrating the Hispanic Heritage Month, but more importantly, I'm extremely excited for what the future is holding for Aldine Senior High School. We're excited, one, that we're the first ones, we're numero uno, the number one, to be in front of our community, to maybe sharing some information about what could come. And obviously, I'm excited because I never thought in my wildest dream that as a little principal, I could begin developing a new building for my school. And I can only tell you that my kids truly, truly deserve it. So with that said, I just want to make sure that, take it away, like Johnny Canales said, and those of you that know who Johnny Canales is, Dr. Gaffney, we really appreciate you. Dr. Gaffney, we really appreciate you being here and lead us into what is going to come in some awesome and great years to come. So here you go.
All right. Good evening, Aldine. Good evening. All right, let me just tell you, I'm super excited about this meeting, excited that you came out tonight to learn more about our Bond 2023 program. We have a lot to share, and we want to make sure that we get to answer your questions as well as give you information so that you can have to make the decision on November when it comes election time. So how many of you are excited about being here? Give yourselves a round of applause. I'm trying to take everything in, just really excited. I think we have a video to kick the night off, so let's start the video.
Aldine ISD is committed to providing choices and opportunities for students just like me. It's the last years of Aldine's 5-year strategic plan, a new way forward, and we've made a lot of progress. It is important that we keep moving forward so that more students can benefit from the work that is being done right now. As my uncle always says, there's always more to do. Then, someone in my family always asks the same question: how much is it going to cost? Well, some of the work in Aldine that needs to happen requires a voter-approved school bond to cover the cost. I bet you are thinking, what is a school bond? School districts in Texas only receive funds for daily operations. Things like construction, fixing buildings, and buying new technology aren't always covered in the regular budget. That's where a school bond comes in. A group of Aldine community members met a whole bunch of times to figure out what was needed and what the district could actually afford. They looked at data, heard from presenters, asked a lot of questions. Then they decided that it was best to focus on 3 super important things that create the kind of learning environments needed, so we can focus on what's really important: learning. First up, safety and security. Police officers are real-life superheroes, but they can do it alone. We're adding basic things like stronger fences and more lights. There are more fancier safety systems too. They all go a long way when it comes to safety. And then there are facility enhancements. We have some older schools that need to be brought up to the same standards as the newer ones. And finally, instructional technology. Haven't you heard? Technology has changed the classrooms. There are some really cool new tools and apps that take learning to another level. Of course, there are more details. I could go on and on, but we don't have a lot of time. The bottom line, our Board of Trustees agreed with the community members and added a school bond to the November 7 ballot. All that's left for you to do, get out there and vote on Tuesday, November 7th. In case you need more information, we've packaged it all up at aldineisd.org/bond2023.
Awesome. So thank you. And thank you for coming tonight. Super excited. I want to make sure, know we have community members, we have teachers, we have parents. And again, it doesn't matter how small the group, because where 2 or 3 are gathered, we want to be there to tell you information so that you can go and make a decision. We also want you to know who is leadership in the room. And so we have a couple of board members are here tonight. If you guys would wave your hands, we have Mr. Bates and Dr. Garcia. Let's give them a round of applause. Mrs. Shanklin, I am so sorry. Forgive me. We have Mr. Shanklin and Dr. Garcia. We also have several members of our team, community members, so you can ask any of us questions. We have our executive leadership team. If our executive leadership team would please just wave your hands. And so any type of questions, you can definitely see any member of the team. But again, I'm excited about what we're about to share with you tonight. Really excited, because it's an opportunity to address some of the needs in our district. You know, it's hard to believe that in 2018, when I first arrived in Aldine, we were busy looking, listening, and learning, but also opening up 6 schools in 2 different campuses, 6 new schools and 2 replacement campuses. And that was an exciting time for Aldine to see and be a part of the end of that bond program. And so as we were beginning my journey here in Aldine, we assessed a lot. Like, we looked at technology, we looked at special ed, we had a PEMS audit, transportation audit. We audited everything so that we could see where we were and how we could best improve. And one of the areas that we were striving to also to make sure that we continue to improve is with our facilities as well. But due to timing, it wasn't until 2022 when we were able to finish and complete that work. We started a facilities assessment and an education adequacy assessment, and literally we outsourced and had someone come in and look at every single one of our facilities. We have over 83 campuses and all of our building sites, and they assessed to see where our buildings were. How did they compare? How did they live up to the educational suitability as well as the facilities conditions? And what we discovered is what we kind of already knew. Over 50% of our schools are over 40 years old. 25% of our schools are over 50 years old. And then when we looked at the educational suitability assessment that was conducted, over 50% of our schools scored less than 70%. So we recognized that with that information, it was so important that we began to make a plan to address the needs of all of our facilities. The other thing that we found was when you looked at all of our needs, all of the ways that we could make sure and do the repairs, looking at the total cost to repair all of our facilities today for the issues that presented today would cost over $1 billion. And then over a 10-year period, it'd be about $2.7 billion. So we knew that we had to start thinking about how we're going to address these problems. And so after the board received the presentation, we launched a long-range facilities planning committee. And you're going to, several of the three leads are here tonight. We have our CFO, Mr. Stan Osborne, our COO, Mr. Washington, and our Chief of Schools, Chief Reed. And so they met for about 5 times. I participated. I didn't lead the meetings because we wanted to make sure that we heard the voice of the different stakeholders who presented. Over 60 stakeholders were invited to attend. Some of you were participated, and they looked at not only the facilities conditions assessment, but also looked at the educational suitability assessment, looked at the demographics, looked at our financial outlook, looked at all of these different things that we could say, how do we move forward and address the needs of our district? And so it's exciting, but it was hard because there was lots of good ideas as different community members were visioning and different parents were sharing their hopes, dreams, and aspirations for their students and looking at how we could address all of the different issues that were posed. And so long story short, at the end of the time together, the committee came up with a list of recommendations after lots of conversations and priorities, and keeping in mind, just like the last bond and all the bonds throughout the year, couldn't address every single thing, but how could we address the most? And so it came down to 3 focus areas, and you saw them, but I want to just go over them again. Safety and security is number 1. When you think about House Bill 3 just passed, and there are lots of unfunded mandates, and you're hearing about the things that other districts are doing, most of those items are being done because of bonds. literally, most of the districts who are being able to do things in a strategic way, they're doing it with bond funds because there are no state funds in order to do it with. And so we want to take advantage of that opportunity as well. I say this all the time, but I don't say it because he's sitting on the front row. It's nice to have a chief of police who sits on the front row and pays attention to what you're saying. But we have the best police department in the state, in the area for sure, the absolute best police department.
Sí, muy buenas noches y gracias por asistir a esta reunión que tenemos el día de hoy. Básicamente quisiera comentarles acerca de lo que estaba presentándonos la doctora Gaffney, aparte de la historia de lo que ha sido todo el proceso de los bonos en el distrito, el cual se hubo un comité a largo plazo, el cual se estuvo reuniendo en muchas ocasiones para poder llegar a la conclusión de qué es lo que se necesitaba en todas las escuelas para que con este bono de ser aprobado se puedan hacer las mejoras necesarias. Aquí en el distrito hubieron tres áreas de interés, la cual fue la seguridad y la protección, la mejora de las instalaciones y la tecnología educativa.
So we have three focuses. Number one, is it foci? The English teacher in me said that wasn't right, so thank you, and y'all were gonna let me get away with it, but thank you. But one, the most important one is safety and security. As I stated, we have the best police department, and they do a lot of work making sure that our 111 square miles are safe. We're proud of the fact that unlike a lot of school districts, our police department works 24 hours a day. We have police officers who are not on call, they're on the job, they're patrolling, and they're making sure that our campuses, our buildings are safe, but also our community is safe. And so we want to add another layer of security by moving the site to one site that's centrally located so that we can continue to provide that the level of excellence and support.
Y una de estas áreas de interés que es muy importante para nosotros es el área de seguridad y protección, la cual involucra el departamento de policía, el cual se encuentra demasiado ocupado acá en nuestro distrito. Son más de 11,000 millas de lo que tenemos que abarca el distrito. Y una de las cosas que queremos implementar es agregar una capa más de seguridad, dándole su propio departamento independiente para ellos.
The second one, of course, is facilities enhancements. As I alluded to earlier, many of our buildings are older, and there are some needs that we need to address immediately, and there are some that over time we just need to make sure that we're enhancing our facilities. And so when we look at either rebuilds or building new, and you're going to hear about those in each of the propositions, there's also an opportunity too to continue on the promise of the previous bond, which in the second phase had the development of a professional performing arts center. And so we want to make sure that we are able to do that with this bond. This is exciting because when we think about our 60,000 students, over 50,000 of them participate in some type of performance or visual arts. And so we want to have a facility in which our students can have the same level of preparation and same level of celebration in front of the community as our other neighboring districts have. So we're really excited about that particular enhancement.
Sí, y también aparte de la segunda área de interés va a ser las mejoras a las instalaciones, las cuales va a ser mantenimiento a los edificios, va a ser algunas reconstrucciones, algunas remodelaciones, algunas construcciones nuevas, porque es importante saber que de nuestros 60,000 estudiantes, 50,000 están participando en algún tipo de arte escénica y eso es uno de las áreas que estamos más emocionados de presentarles.
And last, the third focus is instructional technology. We want to make sure that we're able to continue to make our students future ready. One of the blessings, per se, of COVID was the fact that we were able to go one-to-one during that time. So all of our students have devices, all of our teachers got devices, but as you all know, devices, the life span of a device doesn't last long. And so to get equipment and refresh, we want to make sure that we're able to continue to make our students and prepare our students to be future ready.
Y una de las cosas que sucedieron durante el COVID fue que pudimos tener la oportunidad de trabajar uno a uno con los estudiantes, el cual nos permitió que cada uno de ellos y los maestros tuvieran un dispositivo en sus manos. Entonces, pero como ustedes saben, los dispositivos también van envejeciendo y es necesario que los actualicemos y eso es lo que se está poniendo en esta propuesta.
So we're going to walk through, we have three focus areas, but we have three propositions, and I want you to understand that. So we're going to first start with Prop A.
Sí, Sí, y estas son las propuestas y está dividida en 3 partes y vamos a empezar con la propuesta A.
Please welcome Dr. Cantu, our Chief Academic Officer.
See. All right. Good afternoon. Good evening. So I'm going to talk to you about our different propositions. So I want you to think about, there was a law that was passed that said we had to make sure that our voters were informed about what exactly they were voting for when they were voting for the bond. And so we have laid it out here. You'll see Proposition A, B, and C. And so each one is for a different area. So we cannot take the information, we cannot take the funds. If Proposition A is voted on and you say, yes, this is what I would like and we want everything that's under Proposition A, we can't then take the funds from Proposition A and cover something in like Proposition C, right? Every one of those would need to be approved by the voters if that's where, so this is information for you so that you're aware of what it is that you're voting on when you are going to the polls. And to tell you about our bond. So déjeme le voy a dar un poco de información sobre los bonos. En agosto 15, nuestra comunidad, perdón, la mesa directiva, gracias, se juntó y habló sobre qué es lo que queríamos para el distrito, cuál era cómo íbamos a seguir, ¿verdad? Entonces tuvimos tres áreas que ellos aprobaron 1.8 billones de dólares para este bono. So, si los votantes están de acuerdo, pueden votar en estas 3 o pueden votar por cada uno independientemente o pueden votar por las 3 en total. So, vamos a hablar sobre las 3. La primera es if you go to the next slide. So if you look at Proposition A, what we're looking at when we met, when the different planning committee met and looked at all the different items on the list and everything that we wanted, right? Just like when, for my house, I live in a house that was built in 1932. So it's over 90 years old. And so there's a lot that I would love to do to my house to make sure that it was nice and comfortable for me and my kiddos. But I know that we can't do everything on that list, right? I can't make everything on that list happen. And so the Long Range Planning Committee met and looked at the different items on the list and then came to this conclusion after a long process, right? And so what you'll see here is you'll see the campus rebuild and the campus redesign. So I want to go over those 2 things and just kind of explain what the difference is there because we often get questions about that. So the campus rebuild, I'm going to go with the example of my house. Campus rebuild. If a rebuild looks like I'm starting from the foundation. I've taken everything off of the lot and I'm starting brand new with the brand new house, right? That's what the rebuild would look like. I'm sorry? The redesign. Okay, so then let's look at the redesign. So the redesign is looking at, my house was built a very long time ago. It's brick. It's really sturdy. So if I could also decide to do just like a redesign and then take it down to the studs, look at the structure of my house, the bones, it has really strong bones. And then once I've done that, then I can kind of rearrange things and make it look the way that I want it to and the way that it would work best for the needs of my family, right? So that's the difference between the redesign and the rebuild. Bueno, so déjame le voy a explicar las 2 áreas. Uno es empezar de nuevo, que sería la parte de arriba, que es totalmente un cambio total, ¿verdad? Entonces, por ejemplo, mi casa se construyó en el año 1932, ¿verdad? Son más de 90 años. So yo tengo una lista enorme de todas las cosas que quiero hacer en cambios en mi casa, ¿verdad? Me gustaría cambiar las ventanas, la puerta, muchas cosas, el aire, la plomería, ¿verdad? Pero es una lista muy extensa y entonces sería muy difícil para hacer todo en mi lista, ¿verdad? Pero si estamos haciendo la primera área que ve allí, la primera parte, entonces es que la casa desde quitamos todo y desde el puro plano vamos a empezar desde abajo arriba, ¿verdad? Otra opción que ven en la siguiente parte, allí donde está la escuela de Eisenhower y MacArthur, estas son, por ejemplo, si en mi casa es una casa muy fuerte, está hecha de ladrillo, En totalidad, una casa está bien hecha. So, lo que puedo hacer es entonces nomás dejar la estructura, quitar todo lo demás y empezar de nuevo con la estructura en lugar, ¿verdad? Eso es un diseño diferente porque no quitamos todo, sino que usamos la estructura que está impuesto. So, esas son las dos áreas, dos diferencias entre esas dos áreas, ¿verdad? So then we were also looking at like facilities improvements, and we looked at what could we do. So even if you see on there on the list and you don't see your particular school, you say, hey, like my school is not on there, right? That doesn't mean that the school would not be impacted, because there are other ways that the schools are impacted. And so you'll see there we looking at digital marquees so that so that our schools can have that. We looked at HVAC, we looked at roofing, we looked at plumbing, right? So the schools will all have a touch point. They'll receive some of that there. You'll see also improvements to our science labs. We want our science labs we want to enhance our science labs, so we want to make sure that we do that. And then you'll see athletic improvements. So even if you don't see a particular school listed and you say, hey, like my location is not there, you will see that there are other ways that we are making sure that we are touching on all of our campuses. And then you heard Dr. Goffney share right now about safety and how this is a priority for us. And we've already started some of that work, a lot of that work now. And you also, we're blessed to have our Aldine Police Department, who is open 24 hours a day to serve the needs of the community. And so we want to make sure that we continue to improve and provide safety and security for our district. So you'll see there some things like when we walk out in the evening after the meeting and it's dark, will we have lighting outside? What will lighting look like? Have you walked out of a building before? You want to make sure that there's lighting as you walk to your cars. So we're looking at that. We're looking at generators because the power has gone out how often in our area, right? And we want to make sure that we have the generators. And we're also looking at more safety film so we can make sure to protect our kiddos. And we're looking as well as having a dedicated space for our police department, right? We want to make sure that they're located somewhere centrally where they can get to our schools quickly and we can have quick response times. Technology. Someone said this to me earlier, and I think I heard it earlier, but if every one of us was in this room and we had one device, that would need to connect to the Wi-Fi, right? But what if we have our laptop and our phone? So now we have two devices for each of us to connect to the Wi-Fi, right? And if we happen to have a kiddo with us, or we had another device, that's 3 devices now that has to connect to the Wi-Fi, right? And we need to make sure that we are able to have that connectivity and that we're able to do that, because now with our move towards more one-to-one and kiddos all have technology, we want to make sure that they're able to access that infrastructure, that technology infrastructure. So that's on here as well. And so then you'll also see changes for transportation to do additional enhancements there as well. Bueno, déjame lo voy a decir todo en español una vez más para estar segura que tengan la información. Bueno, vamos a hacer cambios. Una de las cosas que estamos viendo es, aunque no ve el nombre de la escuela, por ejemplo, vamos a decir que usted dice, bueno, mi escuela no se ve allí, no veo el nombre de la escuela. No quiere decir que su escuela no va a recibir parte de este bono, ¿verdad? Porque hay otras maneras en que vamos a poder ayudar a todas las escuelas que no tiene que ver con construir algo nuevo, sino que quizás vamos a hacer cambios en el aire, con el aire acondicionado, o con la plomería, o con la mecánica de la escuela, la electricidad de la escuela. Vamos a hacer cambios. So, todas las escuelas, aunque no estén aquí, no los ven en la lista, vamos a nosotros hacer algo con esas escuelas, aunque no estén en la lista, ¿verdad? Porque vamos a ayudar a todas las escuelas. También vamos a tener los letreros electrónicos afuera de todas las escuelas, lo que estamos viendo. Queremos mejorar el laboratorio de ciencias. Queremos también mejorar las áreas de los niños que usan para los deportes, ¿verdad? Queremos también hacer cambios allí. Y nosotros somos muy afortunados que en el distrito de Aldine tenemos nuestro propio departamento de policía que está abierto 24 horas al día y se responde también no solamente a ayuda en las escuelas, pero también cuando uno en la comunidad le llama, ellos están disponibles para contestar. Entonces queremos seguir ayudando a la comunidad y queremos mover o quizás mover el departamento de policía a un lugar más central, donde pueden ellos tener rápidamente llegar a diferentes lugares en el distrito de un lugar central, ¿verdad? Y también queremos continuar ayudando la seguridad que hemos estado poniendo en lugar. Por ejemplo, tenemos como un plástico que va sobre las ventanas, los vidrios, para ayudar a las escuelas, ¿verdad? A proteger a las escuelas. Queremos hacer eso más de lo que ya hemos hecho. También, por ejemplo, hoy cuando salgamos de esta junta va a estar oscuro y queremos que haya luz, suficiente luz afuera para cuando nosotros salgamos tarde o lleguemos temprano, los niños que llegan a las 6:45 de la mañana. Y también muchas veces se falla luz aquí, so queremos tener los generadores para poder tener luz. Y queremos mejorar la tecnología para estar seguros que puedan todos tener acceso al internet a cualquier tiempo. Y luego también queremos mejorar la transportación del distrito para tener un espacio donde los autobuses pueden salir y llegar rápidamente a nuestras escuelas. Okay, next. Okay. All right, Proposition B, instructional technology. I like all of them, but this one is really, really cool, really neat. Couple years ago, 10 years ago or so, I was on a campus. I was a principal, and I saw a rocket go up to space, send off a payload into the International Space Station, turn around, come back and land on a ship in the middle of the ocean with no one guiding it at the sea. It was all done remotely. And those are the types of things that happened 10 years ago, and now we do it all the time. Rockets go up to space and come back. And I tell you that story because the kiddos who were in the school at that time are now graduating from high school. And these are the types of jobs that they're going to have available to them when they get out, when they graduate, right? And so we need to make sure that we are providing the instructional programs that they need to be ready for those opportunities that they would have after graduation in either career or in their choice of career or college, right? So we need to do that here. We need to provide opportunities for technology for them. And so what we want to do in Proposition B is at $67 million. And we want to look at providing new students and staff device refresh, making sure that we get the right devices in kiddos' hands. And we want to make sure that we provide the right technology in our classrooms to help meet those needs that are coming, we know, in the not too distant future. Okay. Este siguiente bono es por $65 millones, ¿verdad? Es una cantidad grande. Pero lo que les estaba comentando a todos era que hace 10 años yo era directora de una escuela elemental. Y estaba con unos estudiantes y vimos un cohete, ¿se dice? Ir al espacio, mandar materiales a los astronautas que están en el espacio y regresar y caer en un barco en el medio del océano. Todo por control remoto. Nadie estaba guiándolo, no había conductor, ni en el cohete ni en el mar. Y lo que les digo ese cuento porque esos estudiantes que estaban conmigo, que estamos viendo ese video, que vimos a eso ocurrir hace 10 años, esos niños ya están ahora listos para graduarse de la escuela, ¿verdad? Graduarse de high school. Y esos tipos de trabajos es lo que ellos van a tener acceso. So queremos nosotros asegurarnos que la información, lo que estamos haciendo en el salón, lo que le estamos dando en educación, que le estamos dando en la escuela, les ayude a llegar a esas carreras o les ayude a llegar a ese punto en el colegio, ¿verdad? So nosotros necesitamos la tecnología para poder ayudarles a llegar a ese punto. Y por eso le pedimos aquí que nos ayude, que si ustedes votan por esa parte, este bono va a haber oportunidad de comprarle a los niños nuevos materiales, tecnología, nuevos dispositivos también a los maestros y también poder tener tecnología nueva en nuestras escuelas. Okay, next, Proposition C. Okay, now I don't know. This one might be my favorite. because maybe they're all of my favorite. But Proposition C, we're looking at, Proposition C would be a new education center and performance arts center, right? And so when we think about this, you heard Dr. Gaffney say earlier, we have over 60,000 students, and of those students, almost 50,000 students participate in some types of arts activity, fine arts, performing arts, music, band, dance. So we have a great deal of our students that participate in the arts, and we want to be able to showcase them. We want to be able to educate them with what's available to them in the world of art education. Last week, we had a group of students who performed. They were invited to perform, a choir from Thompson Elementary who were invited to perform at the Astros game. Right, and so they were out there on the field. They were able to perform at the Astros game. But when they come here to Aldine, they might perform in a cafeteria, right, in a stage inside of a cafeteria, or maybe in the MOC, which is big, and we can house a lot of people there, but it's a gym, right? It was not built as a performing arts center. It was built as a gym. And so we want to be able to have a space where we can educate our students on the arts, where we can also provide performances for our kiddos so that we can showcase them to our community, right? So that they have a place where they can feel the joy of like what they're doing and be presented to the community in our performing arts center. So this is if you're looking at where, there's a space behind the MOC there's a green space behind the MOC. So if you're looking at it's sandwiched between like the MOC and Bellway 8. So that's what we're looking at right now. So, bueno, dije hace ratitos que el otro era mi favorita, pero quizás este es mi favorito en realidad, porque escuchó la doctora Gaffney decir hace ahorita que había más de 60,000 estudiantes en el distrito, y de esos 60,000 tenemos más de 50,000 estudiantes que participan en un tipo de arte. Será música, será banda, será cantar, diferente, o también el dibujo de arte, ¿verdad? Tenemos varios tipos de arte, todos los estudiantes participan en estas actividades. La semana pasada tuvimos un grupo de estudiantes cantando de la escuela de Thompson, y cantaron en Minute Maid, en frente del equipo de los Astros, ¿verdad? Un partido de béisbol. So allí todos los están viendo, los que fueron al partido, pero aquí cuando vienen a cantar en el distrito, cantan en un escenario adentro de la cafetería en la escuela de Thompson, ¿verdad? Es diferente, no tenemos un espacio para que ellos puedan dar su presentación. O por ejemplo, ellos cantan en el edificio que le llamamos el MOC, que en realidad es donde se juega básquetbol, no es un gimnasio, no es un escenario, ¿verdad? Entonces queremos construir un escenario donde podemos dar clases, donde podemos dar educación a los niños sobre los artes, pero también donde ellos pueden presentarse en ese escenario y pueden participar y tener orgullo de el arte que ellos están participando, ¿verdad? Next one. Okay, entonces todo junto, all together, here it is, A, B, and C, Proposition A, Proposition B, and Proposition C. It's 3 different ones, each one has a different purpose, a different intent on what we're doing with Proposition A and B and C. And like I said earlier, we cannot take stuff from Proposition, right? If we were to say, okay, well, we're going to get Proposition C, but not B. Well, we can't take funds from the professional performing arts center and buy technology, right? We have to use the funds for what what the voters decided for. Okay. Is that next? Oh, en español ya se me había olvidado. My bad. Bueno más. Bueno, aquí ve el total. 1.8 billones de dólares, ¿verdad? Es una cantidad enorme, pero sabemos que en el 2015 también hubo un bono que duró hasta ahora, y ojalá que esta cantidad nos ayude para los siguientes años. Lo que podemos ver, lo que le quería recordar es que cada uno de estos bonos tiene una ¿cómo se dice? Es para algo en específico, ¿verdad? Entonces, no podemos tomar del dinero, por ejemplo, si dicen, no, no vamos a pagar no queremos los 67 millones de dólares para la tecnología. Nomás solamente va a ser la A y C. Bueno, no podemos tomar dinero del C y pagar por algo en el bono del B. No podemos comprar tecnología porque los votantes no aprobaron eso, solamente aprobaron C. So, en realidad los votantes necesitarían votar por los tres si quieren todo lo que acabamos de platicar. Okay. All right, so now, this is you, sir.
Was that for me or for her? Was it
No
for
estoy
me?
seguro si la aplaudían a él o a ella.
Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Stan Osborne. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of the school district, and I'm proud to talk to you about how we're going to do all this. Right? You heard a lot about Proposition A, B, and C, and we recognize that it's $1.8 billion. Mucho dinero, right?
Sí, buenas noches. Se le quiero presentar, él es uno de nuestros directivos del distrito, el cual se va a encargar de explicarnos esta noche cómo es que va a funcionar todo esto en cuanto al dinero en la propuesta A, B y C, y como él lo dijo, va a ser algo de dinero.
So how a school district gains access to $1.8 billion is through bond sales. You hear the bond, bond, bond. This is how we do it. We go to the open Newark Stock Exchange marketplace and we sell paper, we sell certificates equal to that value to investors who then gain interest off their purchases. And then we pay interest to pay the money back over a 30-year period.
Ok, so la manera como eso funciona es que nosotros nos encargamos, ustedes han estado escuchando el bono, el bono, el bono. La manera como eso funciona es que nosotros nos encargamos de hacer unos certificados, los cuales esos certificados los vendemos a inversionistas de la bolsa, los cuales van ganando un porcentaje sobre esos certificados que nosotros les hemos vendido.
For the financing structure, we developed a plan to manage this over a 10-year period, not only to allow us the affordability, because remember, we have to pay this money back, the principal and interest. We need the time period in order to manage $1.8 billion, as well as we need the capacity to do all those activities in Proposition A, B, and C over that same time period, and we match them together and we phase it over the 10-year period.
Sí, y para que esto funcionara lo tuvimos que distribuir el .8 billones de dólares para que lo pudiéramos gastar en un periodo de 10 años y para que se pudiera distribuir de cierta manera y que se gastara en ese periodo de tiempo.
For those that live in Aldine and vote in Aldine and own property in Aldine, you receive a tax bill from Harris County Authority, right, assessment on your property, your personal property. The value of your property times a rate is how we determine how much money is collected from all the property owners in Aldine to help pay for the principal and interest. Keep in mind that in Aldine's boundaries, about 60% of those collections come from the airport and other businesses, commercial activity. Only about 40% comes from the residents. So keep that in mind, that to pay this package back, the commercial business opportunities in Aldine will be paying for 60% of it.
Sí, y básicamente lo que ustedes deben de entender es que este es un dinero que se va a tomar prestado. Para poderlo regresar, tenemos que asegurarnos de que cada persona que viva en Aldine, que tenga una propiedad y que tenga también el derecho a votar, que va a recibir un recibo de parte del condado de Harris, donde le va a dar la explicación de cómo es que este dinero le va a aumentar o va a tener que darlo en sus impuestos.
The current collection rate on that property per $100 of its value is 30 cents. The first 3 years of the 10-year period we will not ask for any increase at all. We will maintain 30 cents. Pending on property values going forward from that, we would anticipate about 2 penny increase per year. And over the entire 10 years, we would experience possibly about a 10 penny per $100 value increase.
Básicamente en este momento se están pagando 30 centavos por cada 100 dólares por la propiedad, y lo que queremos hacer es que por los próximos 3 años no se vaya a pagar nada, no vayan a ver ustedes ningún aumento, y van a ser de a 2 centavos por los próximos 10 años, pero no preveemos que vaya a ser más de 40 centavos en ese periodo de tiempo.
My home in Aldine, I have a homestead exemption. My value of my home for tax purposes was $100,000. The current homestead exemption is the first $100,000. That home will not pay any taxes in any way. If you're 65 years or older and you have applied for the deferment, you will not pay any increase, right? You continue to pay your current tax rate.
Si usted tiene un hogar, una casa, un hogar, el cual es su vivienda donde usted vive principalmente, por los primeros 100,000 no va a haber aumento para nada. De igual manera, para las personas que tengan más de 65 años y que tengan que estén exentos, tampoco van a haber ningún aumento.
Remember, we're going to touch every campus. No increase for the first 3 years.
Y recuerde, vamos a impactar, o cada una de las escuelas van a recibir algo, y que no va a haber ningún incremento en los próximos 3 años.
Chief Reed. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Good afternoon. I get the lovely ability to wrap this thing up. So we've shared a lot of information, but there's more information to be shared. We are hosting meetings like this for all communities, and so we'll have other opportunities where you can come back and learn more or invite your neighbors and friends.
Sí, muchísimas gracias, y ya vamos a estar cerrando esta reunión. Yo sé que ha sido muchísima información, y la cual vamos a estar teniendo más juntas como la del día de hoy, más reuniones comunitarias. Si usted tiene más información, también puede visitarnos.
The one thing I want to stress is that although we can all be excited about what could happen, what's to come, if you're not registered to vote or live in Aldine, none of this matters. And so we have support here from Aldine Federation of Teachers who can get you registered to vote or check your voting status so that you know that you absolutely have completed the documents.
Y yo sé que todos estamos muy emocionados por todo lo que estamos hablando aquí, y lo queremos hacer, pero es muy importante que ustedes entiendan de que para que esto pueda suceder, todas las personas que puedan votar tienen que hacerlo. Tenemos aquí la compañía de la Federación de Maestros, los cuales nos están acompañando el día de hoy, para que si usted no está registrado para votarse, ellos lo pueden registrar, o también usted puede chequear su estado de votante para ver si puede hacerlo o no.
So registering to vote is important. It's your golden ticket. It's your access to the polls. But also, you need to know that these are the dates that are important. So October 23rd through November 3rd, you have the opportunity to register to vote anywhere in Harris County. And then actually on election day, you can vote at your designated place.
Sí, y es importante, como les decía, de que usted esté registrado para votar. Las fechas por las cuales usted puede votar es de octubre 23 a noviembre 3, y la fecha oficial para las elecciones es noviembre 7.
In the video we shared, you heard the video about some information. That was our student at Dunn Elementary School, and she shared as much as she could and boiled it down to simple terms. But if you want to find out more yourself, you can go to our website where it's in English, Spanish. You can click on your school, you can learn, you can ask questions, you can look for the questions. All of the answers are there so you can dig through and get more information.
Y en el video que vimos al comienzo, era una de nuestras estudiantes de la escuela de Dunn. Ella estaba tratando de explicar en términos simples de todo lo que quiere decir el bond. Pero si usted llega a tener más preguntas, pueden visitarnos a la página que está en pantalla. Ahí está toda la información en español, en inglés, y ahí puede resolver cualquier pregunta.
All right, that kind of gives us to the place where we can take any questions. But before I do that, everyone in here has homework. Okay, you have homework. On your way out, You're going to say hello to these lovely students who are performing for us. And then as you go out, the Fine Arts Department or the Visual Arts Department has a interactive opportunity for us to draw, to let off some steam, to color, and it all becomes part of one beautiful display. And it's a reminder that although 60,000 of our students live in Aldine, 50,000 of them participate in the arts. Also being said, we all participate in the arts. So I ask you to do that homework, and then also make sure you check with AFT to check on your voter status.
Sí, y antes de irse, por favor, asegúrense, yo sé que va a haber también oportunidad para que hagan las preguntas. También tenemos aquí, antes de que usted salga, por favor, saluden a los estudiantes que están aquí, van a estar presentándose. También va a haber una oportunidad para que interactúe, que también un poquito de arte, se distraiga un poquito de la reunión que acabamos de tener. Y como les decía, acá están ellas presentes por si tienen más preguntas.
So we have members of the district, principal of the school, board members, department heads are here. We can take any question, whether you want to raise your hand or come up to us individually. If nothing else, that's going to conclude our presentation. Those of you that are watching online, thank you for tuning in, and then thank you all for attending. We'll be around to answer your questions.
Y como les decíamos anteriormente, aquí tenemos personal del distrito que está dispuesto a contestar cualquier pregunta. Usted puede venir, puede acercarse, puede preguntarnos personalmente. Y las personas que nos están viendo en línea también igualmente gracias por acompañarnos.
Okay. También tenemos jugo y galletas, so asegúrense que agarren también jugo y galletas. Cookies and punch. We have cookies and punch. Make sure you get cookies and punch.